there's a lot of questions that go over the same ground. So I'm skipping forward to the last question. And this is, I think, a good question to wrap this up with, because this is the nub of the issue. Rohit231046. Hey, Kartikeya and Shumi. My primary concern, if somebody is buying a Basalt X, can this be termed as a confident purchase? I test drove quite a few cars in this price segment. Kia Ceros, Kia Ceros, Hyundai Venue, Kia Sonet, Maruti Suzuki Fronx, Maruti Suzuki Baleno, the Skoda Kayak, and the Basalt X. All automatics, all top-end versions. But the Basalt seemed to be the best deal overall. Even after all of these test drives and finding the better car for myself, which is the Basalt X to this person, the level of confidence is missing. Fear of after-sale service, ready availability of parts when needed, brand future in India, etc., etc. Had this been the case for the Skoda Kayak or any of the other cars in this list, the confidence level would have been so high that, okay, I'm buying this car. But here I had to explain this to everybody at home that, look, trust me, this is the better car. And nobody seemed confident. Cars is good, but Citroen's presence is very, very limited. What if they leave like their cousins? Limited networks cater only to a limited set of customers. Given the low sales, is the service quality really at par with the competition? How do you know? Is this backed up by popular opinions, like, for example, for Jeep? I honestly want to buy the Basalt X top-end automatic. Can you help me in restoring some confidence that the purchase is indeed an informed decision? Or is it?
I think you're well aware of what the situation is for Citroen. And to look at the worries side of thing, let's say people often are worried about Maruti Suzuki's from a safety standpoint. People are worried about Hyundai's about service standpoint. And these are true. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up, right? And the Maruti one is a common thing, but people constantly talk about Hyundai and service not being great, right? And this is just like a worry factor that people have. It is a perception that you hold. And there will be a perception, of course, that Citroen is, and fairly, that they don't have as wide a service network as the others, which is fine. But at the end of the day, are you comfortable with the decision that you are taking? Will you be able to look back at it without regret? Whichever way you steer, right? At the end of the day, if you're buying it, you'll have to decide. And I know this can be it can be difficult to sway the family for decisions, right? It's always going to be a little bit of a challenge if they're not in on the decision. But think of it that way. What will keep you happy in the long run, right? With the car or with the ease of owning the car, whichever way it works, right?
Yeah.
You'll have to find that balance. There's no easy answer for this, because it may turn out to be that you have a great experience with their service and everything. And you are one of the few people who's come across right now in this QFC section saying you look for a test drive and you got a test drive. So clearly the dealership that's near you is responsive and is doing their job. So,
it is possible that the other two guys just reached out on Friday or Saturday or something like that. They should have just done it by Thursday.
why?
Because the French work weekends on Thursday, so I know.
Maybe cut off.
The system was down.
फिर तो cut off. Okay, so you've had a good experience there with the dealership, clearly, and as the other two instances that we spoke about here were not so nice. But if you can qualify that further with maybe other people who bought Citroens from that dealership,
Yeah.
you'll be in a better place to take this decision quantitatively.
You might want to post in circles also and see what comes up, saying any Citroens out there. And I know that there are owners all over the place on circles, and say, yeah, ask a question about how has your service experience been? How is the parts availability been? The exact question that you're asking us is one. Two, we do have a podcast episode on how much worrying actually achieves. I think there are a couple of Spark episodes also on worrying and how futile it can be to just continue to worry. And I've said this for a series of motorcycles now, and I'll say this to you again. There is a point you have to say, if I have to worry so much about this product, then this is not the product for me. And the onus of removing the worries is on the manufacturer, and it is not on you.
Correct.
We spoke about this in the context of Aprilia, I think. We've spoken this in the context of, I don't know, Classic Legends, I think. Classic Legends took it really badly also. We've not seen media bikes since, and I'm completely okay with this. But my point is, if I'm considering buying a product tomorrow, forget motorcycles because I have expertise here. Let's forget cars because he has expertise there. If I'm willing to, let's call it I don't know, music system tomorrow for my house, there's only so much down the rabbit hole I'm willing to go until I find a great brand and a lot of worry together, and then still go and buy this brand. If I have to worry so much, I'm not doing it.
Correct.
There is a point at which you have to draw that line. Or you are saying, that is so good that I'm willing to live with the worries, and then stop worrying at that point. You have only two choices in this, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll give you an example. It's a very stupid example. When I was in school, um, I really wanted a dog, and it just so happened one of my granddad's friends offered me a pup, right? And this came from my granddad, right? He was visiting and all of that, and I really wanted. And I'd already met the parents of the pup and all of that, so I knew them, and I was got super excited. And my granddad did his best to put me off the idea, right? To get a dog, he said a lot of stuff which was just like should have upset a kid and upset the family and everything. But I was clear that I wanted a dog, right? And everybody else kind of then rallied around that, except for my granddad, rallied around that and said, okay, fine, you do this. Once he came, the whole household changed, right? It just flipped over. Nobody ever spoke about, oh, why did you get a dog? None of that ever happened again. Everybody was just in love with him. So maybe that will happen for you because they see then this car is so great. Maybe it won't. But you have to decide whether you're willing to take that on or whether you can convince them to go along, right? That's basically it.
Yeah. And sometimes the path of least resistance is the first step to having authority. Right? I didn't want to buy a scooter as my first bike. I thought it was a huge come down because I'm an enthusiast. But when my dad said, I'm going to let you have a kinetic Honda, like a scooter, I chose the best possible scooter that I thought was available in that time, and I went down that path. But a year later, he had no objections to me buying two-wheelers of any sort anymore, because that year's riding record was clean and simple. Always wears helmet, doesn't seem to have any incidents, etc., etc. Safe bet. So I took the first step as not saying, come on, dad, I have to have a motorcycle. I mean, I'm going to grow up to become Shumi, no.
And one sec, actually something that Shumi's spoken about before, like when his dad was giving him money to buy a bike versus his own money. If it's your money, you take the decision. Whether it's a good or bad decision, you'll only come to know with time. It'll be your decision. You'll learn from it. You'll grow from it.
And then if you buy the Basalt X, you will be an adult 2 times over. When you took your own money and took your own decision, that's a sign of an adult. And an adult can also see that a great car with flappy door handles is still a great car.
And if it is happening with family money and then it has other implications, then decide accordingly. That will also be a mature decision where you're taking everybody along with you. Yeah. And that's fine.
The Citroen Basalt, slightly more family oriented. The Citroen Aircross, slightly more driver oriented, have always been good cars to drive. And Kartikeya has always come back saying, man, that was such a good experience. But purchasing them has not always been the easy thing to do. For this specific episode of Motoring First, you should watch it on the app, because the questions from Circle section is huge and it addresses all of the major concerns, including, is Citroen going to be around in the country and is it safe to buy one? If you want to see that, come to the app. Motoring First is free to watch and the app is free to download.